Haleem, thanks for coming on, mate.
Yeah,
it's
thanks.
good to have you. And I think for anyone who doesn't know you, it's just important that I say one of the first things that really impressed me with you was that, you know, you were, at the time, I think when we met, you were 2 years sober. Now you're 3 years sober and you're only 19. And now for me, that's really impressive. But I guess for a lot of people watching now, be like, wow, oh my gosh, it must have been really bad for him. But in fact, it wasn't. You made some healthy choices, and I'd really like you to talk us through it. You know, like obviously you were 16 when you got sober.
Yeah, I was 16. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was it? What was that turning point at 16 where you was like, you know?
Yeah. So a lot happened up until that point, and I was smoking a lot of weed. I'd started taking like pills, bit of cocaine, drinking to stupid amounts, and I also got involved with sort of the whole selling drugs and stuff like that as well. So I was quite deep into it, and the weed was having an effect on my brain. You know, I couldn't function properly. Just so cloudy in my mind. And obviously the drugs, as soon as I started taking pills or cocaine, I just couldn't stop.
Right.
Just could not stop. So there was a number of things really. And I think the weed was that I wanted to sort of knuckle down in school a bit. I'd always really enjoyed school, and I did a lot of drama in school, and I enjoyed all the subjects really.
Yeah.
And I couldn't function when I was smoking weed every night. I couldn't function properly. So that was the driving force behind that.
Right, so it affected, I mean, we'll touch on the selling part, because I think the selling part is a massive thing to talk about, but the sort of, the real choice for you came was when it started affecting, you know, your school life as well. And I guess you had achievements and things you wanted to achieve in life, and when it started affecting that was for you, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I went through school. I started smoking weed when I was about 13, and I went through school up until year 11 and didn't really care. Do you know what I mean? Didn't really care what effect it was having. And I got to year 11, and I had all these high predicted grades and all these things I wanted to do. And it got to the point where I was like, I got my exams in a couple months, and if I fuck this up, what's the point in doing all this? Do you know what I mean? I've spent years trying hard and gone off the rails, and now it's all for nothing. Do you know what I mean? So there was a turning point. It was about after Christmas, before I started my exams, and I thought this is going to go two ways. I can either knuckle down and try and get sober and put my all into this, or I can keep going the other way.
Could you say more about that specific moment?
Yeah.
So, you know, like, because I know, like, when I share my story and I talk about that moment, I say it like it's just a story, but I know in it is a big emotional battle going on for you. Yeah. And maybe just talk us through that.
Yeah, so I went back to school in year 11 and was really sort of trying to knuckle down. But then on the weekends I was going out, doing this, doing that. And it was Christmas Eve, it was New Year's Eve, I think. And I was at my mate's house, and we were doing drugs, we were just taking drugs, and it got to, stupid o'clock in the morning. And I just thought, I got school next week. How am I gonna, what is going on? And up until then, all the teachers were like, you're gonna fail this, do you know what I mean? You're gonna fail. Family were like, it's the end sort of thing. And I had a decision then, and I woke up the next day feeling awful, and I thought, I got a decision here. This is only gonna go one way now. Or it's gonna go one or two ways. And I thought, I got to knuckle down on this. But it was that night, just really off my head. Next morning felt awful, and I thought I've got a decision here,
And that was it. That was the beginning of your journey of getting sober. Was there any influences in your life at the time? Anyone else around you was sober, or was there any like content you were watching on social media? Like, what was that? Because the thought of getting sober wouldn't have just dropped in your head naturally.
No. Yeah, it was at school. I went to a really good school. It was a state school, but it was a good school. And I really liked all my teachers. I had friends who I'd been friends with my whole life. I got a friend called, I don't know, can I mention his name? Maybe not. I got a really good friend, and I've been friends with him since I was about 5. We went through the whole of school together, and he's always been sober.
Oh, interesting, wow.
Yeah, and we sort of drifted apart. And then in year 11, we started talking again. and he was sober. All my other friends at school pretty much were sober as well.
Yeah.
And it was a safe place, I think, school for me.
Right.
It was a safe place because that wasn't where I was doing what I was doing. It was, you know, there was other places I was doing it, but school was a real safe place, and
so
it was an outlet.
So having these people around you, other young lads who are also sober,
Yeah.
you know, doing positive things, was like a real deciding factor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all working hard, trying hard, you know.
Yeah.
It was big.
It's really interesting, isn't it? The power of the company you keep. It's so important you surround yourself with the right people.
Yeah, and for me, I think it was the summer holidays when things went out of control. Because I wasn't at school, I didn't have a structure, I wasn't surrounded by sober people. I was just with, you know, these lads, you know what I mean, all these boys that weren't sober. And so when I was at school, it was like I was around, sober people, good people.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
So you spoke earlier about selling drugs. At the time you would have been, what, 16?
15.
15, right. So a 15-year-old just doesn't fall on your lap.
No.
Was there any influence from older members or county lines gangs or anything like that?
Yeah, so I think it started with I had a habit. You know, I had a habit that I couldn't really fund because you know, one thing leads to another, and you got a habit that's costing quite a lot of money each day, and you're not got a job. You're 15 years old, so I thought, I got an idea. I'm going to start, you know, selling it a bit. And I saw other older guys that were selling it, and I thought they're really, you know, they're cool. I like them.
So you sort of looked up to these older
I looked up to these older guys.
You thought they were like living a good life, making easy money, all this rubbish.
I thought they were cool.
Yeah.
I thought that was what I wanted to be like. And they looked cool at the time, you know. And so I started selling a little bit, and then one thing leads to another, and then I'm sort of almost getting mentored by older guys who are selling big, you know, quite big amounts of drugs.
Would you say that they were sort of grooming you to get you to a position where you could do their work for them?
Yeah, you know what? At the time, I didn't see it that way.
Yeah,
I thought, you know what? These guys are helping me out, and if I had a problem, if I ever, you know, had a problem with someone, they'd sort it out. And I felt like, you know what? No one else, you know, this is awesome. But really, yeah, I think they were grooming me, and looking back now, you know, I was making money, but they were the ones making the real money. You know, I I had a lot of money for a 15-year-old, but they were the ones really making money.
Yeah,
you know?
and you were the one taking the risk.
Big risks.
You know, big risks. You know, and it's often the case. You see, grooming isn't often spoken about. Often when you think of grooming, you think of children, child exploitation, but grooming happens with men getting drawn into county lines, and young girls getting drawn into it for sexual exploitation. You know, I'll groom you, make you feel protected and wanted, and really I just, my reason for that is I want to sexually exploit you, you know.
Comes down to money. They make money off of it, you know.
Yeah, it's really sad. So you're getting this easy money, you're getting this, you're selling, you're getting this easy money, your habits being fed. Sort of, how do you step away from that? Because a lot of the young men I meet in prisons and through youth offending teams, that's the biggest challenge they have, is saying no to these county line gangs and going, choosing a different life. A lot of young men especially are stuck in prison and really found it hard to get out of. So I'd love to hear, like, how did you slowly move away from that?
I think I was really lucky. I was lucky I had my mum. And I say that because she, you know, at the time I thought she was an absolute pain. I couldn't stay. I just wanted her to leave me alone. But there was this time when she found a big bag of you know, drugs in my room. And you know, with one thing led to another. This is like, you know, Class A drugs now. It's not just selling a bit of weed. It's sort of got, you know, quite bad.
Are you allowed to? Would you mind saying what Class A drugs they were?
Yeah. So it got to when I was younger, a couple of years ago, it was quite big on ecstasy pills. Everyone was taking ecstasy pills. And there was a lot of money in ecstasy pills. Well, I thought, you know, it's quick money. And that was when I started making, you know, proper money. Yeah. But I started exploiting people as well, you know.
Was that ecstasy coming down from the county line gangs?
Yeah, it was coming from older guys. It's hard to say what's county lines, what's not, but it was coming from older guys. Yeah. And then I started, you know, was coming from older guys.
Mm.
And so I got really greedy with it. I was exploiting younger people younger than me, because everyone wanted ecstasy pills at the time. And I was known as this, quite a big drug dealer for my age. There's not many other 15-year-olds selling ecstasy pills at the time. I think now there's probably quite a big thing, but a couple of years ago it wasn't too big of a thing.
Of course, yeah. And just to remind people that you were doing really what had been other people had done to you. You were just recreating what the elder people had done to you, right?
Yeah. And there's a lot of things happened with when I was selling the pills, because then it's different from a bit of weed. It's people need this stuff, and a couple of times I got robbed, beaten up. And I was going to these massive raves with, like £1,000 worth of drugs down my boxer shorts. It's just crazy. But I was making a lot of money for a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
And there was this one night, and my mum, I don't know what happened, but she went into my room and she found a big bag of pills and a big wad of cash. And she was like, I came home and she was like, really upset.
Couldn't believe it.
Yeah. And having those two mixed together, having a bag of drugs in my mum's hand, I was like, this is not right. And that was the sort of deciding factor that made me stop selling drugs. Stopping doing drugs. I stopped doing drugs before I stopped selling them.
Right.
I stopped selling weed completely because I couldn't be around weed, and I'd smoke it every day, so I couldn't be around that.
So you got sober, but you still had,
sober.
you were still
but then with the pills, I thought, I can do this. This is all right. I can sell pills, and that was when I was really exploiting people. And then she found the drugs, and it just got to a point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. And with obviously going back to school and doing my exams, that was enough for me.
Yeah. How did you get rid? So obviously you still had some left. Did you just call the guy back up and say, just take these back?
Yeah.
Here's the cash.
I actually the cash was mine in my own right, so I kept the cash. But was a 15-year-old now to do with cash? Before long, that was all gone.
Yeah.
But the drugs, I called up my mum. Well, no, I was with my mum, and my mum drove me to this guy's house, and I gave them back to him.
Right.
And then gradually I don't know if I had any more, but got rid of them.
Yeah.
And
was there any backlash from him? Did he say no?
No, it was all right, because actually it was I was doing it with one of my mates at the time, so we were getting it from these older people, but I was doing it with one of my mates.
Okay.
So I just gave it to one of my mates basically. And at the time I thought, I'm probably not going to stop this. It's like it's too big of a reward in your head. You think,
of course, yeah.
You know what?
It's
I
quick,
could go
easy
down.
reward, isn't it?
Yeah.
Quick money, easy money.
I tried another job. I was sat in a Chinese takeaway for a night. And I was sat there, and I was like, it was like something stupid an hour, like a couple £4, £5 an hour, and I was like, fuck, fuck this. I'm not ever doing a job like this. I'm just going to do this my whole life.
It's so seductive, isn't it? That way of life, that easy money, but the consequences of getting caught are so high.
But you don't realise when you're 15.
You don't know.
You just see the money.
You're just in it, and you think, this is an exciting, glamorous way to live.
Yeah.
When in fact the reality is, it's miserable.
It's not.
What would so you've given back now. You're sober. You're at this real sort of, what I can visualize in my mind, a sort of turning point in your life. You're like, okay, I'm sober. I've realized I've made mistakes selling drugs.
Yeah.
Was there a sort of a turning point, like, okay, I've got to live legally. I've got to find a legal way to live, an honest way to live. Yeah. How am I going to do it?
Yeah. So I think it was, I did my exams and I was just in school, so I didn't really need to think about money or anything like that, just focused on school. And then it got to the summer holidays, and I got a little job. I got a little job down at Sports Direct, right, working me absolutely off my feet, do you know what I mean? Working for £4.20 an hour, and that was when my mind was like, hey, you can make more money doing this and doing that, and there was a real temptation there. And so I just had to fight that temptation, and I went for an opportunity actually at a private school. I went for a bursary there, And my headmistress sort of wrote this massive thing out for me, and I was really lucky. I got a place on this 40 grand bursary at this private school. And it was when I joined there, I thought, yeah, I got to start. Right, yeah, I got to start doing things properly.
You got a good opportunity there.
Yeah.
Probably very few people would get that
Amazing opportunity.
Yeah.
And I saw what life was like on the other side. I'd lived in this same town my whole life, and I'd seen what it was like in the streets and what it was like, you know. But now I saw what it was like in this amazing private school, and I thought, I got, you know, this is what life's about, sort of thing.
See, life's handed
Saw
you
it from a completely different angle, completely different perspective.
Did you have any other friends who, you know, and obviously I'm not sure how much you can say on this, but did you have any other friends who sort of got stuck in that way of life and you know, never really?
I got people that still message me today that I was friends with, you know, that message me saying, how do I stop? How do I stop doing this? You know, friends that I was selling drugs with, still doing it. People that were taking drugs are you know, still doing it, unfortunately. There's not many people that actually came out of it, sadly, and there was a guy, couple guys have taken overdoses, couple guys have died in accidents. I won't mention names, but it's
a real problem, isn't it? This county lines, drug dealing, other older kids exploiting younger kids. It's a real problem, and I think that's one of the big reasons why we need to hear from you guys who've been through it and found a way out, because not many kids find a way out.
No.
You know?
No, it's not. And I think when you're 15 years old and you're taking Class A drugs, it messes with your brain. I know you were taking things from a young age.
Yeah,
it messes with your brain. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it does.
And so it's really hard to break out of it. And I think it's seeing life from a different perspective, you know. And when I was 15, I didn't see content like this on social media. Maybe if I'd have seen a video like this and someone like you talking about this sort of stuff, I would have thought, oh, you know what? Yeah, maybe there is another way. And I was lucky I had my school, but not a lot of people have got that. So I think social media is a big thing now, actually, because everyone's got Instagram, everyone's got Facebook, you know. And if we can put like positive stuff out there, can reach people, you know.
Yeah. What would be your message? Because I get a lot of people reaching out to me, parents, mums and dads of sons, mainly sons. Unfortunately, it's very sad. Young men who've been drawn into this county lines gangs, mainly through fear. Their fear that they're going to be beaten up by these older kids, often from other areas. If you had a message to them, you know, this is going to be a message from a teenager going to another teenager, what would it be?
You know what? The message would be, I get you. I get it. I get the glamour. I get why you're interested in the lifestyle. I get the fear. You know, I get it all. But life is so much better on the other side. So much better. It's like if you love your parents, if you love your, you know, the people around you, if you knew what they were going through as a result of this, you wouldn't do it. And it was when I saw my mum, what she'd gone through. As a result of it, I was like, yeah, I love my mum. How can I put her through this, you know? So it wasn't always about me. I think it's about other people sometimes. And it's like, what do you think your parents are going through right now? You know? And life is so much better on the other side. I know you can vouch for that. Sober life is amazing. It's so nice not being able to go to sleep at night and not worrying if you're going to get raided or people, you know, you got people after you. It's just, so much better.
It's a powerful message, and I think that's the young people involved in this really need to hear from other young people who've made it out. You know, I can preach as much as I want, but I wouldn't really understand it because I was never involved in it. That I was involved in other stuff when I was younger, but this specific subject of county lines. So it's a powerful message, and I think the sobriety message is almost equally important, if not more important, because, you know, like it's arguably that you may not have even got involved in that if you were sober.
No.
You know,
I don't think I would have got. I don't think I've gone anywhere near it if I was sober.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
So the question probably a lot of people are thinking is, okay, you're a teenager, you want to get sober. How did you do it?
Yeah. With weed, I can give a straight answer. I took a week. I went up for a week holiday. I know not everyone can have that, but it was basically like a detox, right? And weed, unlike other drugs, takes quite a while to get out of your system. So you got to have quite a long detox. And I think the first week or the first couple of weeks were really hard with weed, really, really hard. But after that, after the first, 3-4 weeks, it got so much easier. Mm-hmm. So for weed, the first couple of weeks I found were really, really hard while it was coming out of your system. But once it's out, and it's a lot easier. But for me, it was taking a week out, a detox almost, to experience what life is like when you're not smoking weed. And your mind is I found so much clearer. And I felt this, like clarity of mind, and I was like, I want to experience this more. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to do one more day. When I got home from this holiday, I was like, I'm just going to do one more day. I'm not going to quit weed for a lifetime. I'm just going to quit just for today, just one day. Mm-hmm. And I felt great that day. I was like, my mind is so clear. I can think more sharply. I'm not so paranoid. I'm not, so anxious all the time. I can talk to people properly. I got my social skills back. And then the next day I thought, yeah, I'm going to do one more day. And then the next day, I did another day. And each day got easier, and also each day I wanted to do it more because I was experiencing the benefits of being sober. So, it was one day at a time for me, and it was the clarity of mind. Weed, I don't know how much weed was messing up my mind, my social skills, how I was speaking to people, how I was thinking. It just.
Would you say the weed sort of made you paranoid or anxious, social anxiety? Yeah. You said social skills quite a few times, so I'm guessing it affected your interactions with other human beings. Yeah,
well, I did it because I thought I was cool, and it made me sort of like the guy, and everyone looked up, and I think, he's the guy who's always, smoking weed, doing all this and that. But actually, when I was stoned, I'd been smoking weed, I couldn't really talk to people. And then afterwards, I was really anxious, and I was overthinking everything. And it got to a point where I was really, really quite paranoid. And when I stopped, I had to go and see some doctors, and they thought, maybe this is something like, you got some proper paranoia going on and potentially a bit of psychosis at the time. Touch wood, I've not been diagnosed with psychosis, but it happens, Yeah. And so it really messed me up, the weed.
So it was good. So for you, it was that clarity of mind. It was like a freedom. Yeah. You felt this freedom of gosh, I'm free again. I can think, I can communicate. Yeah. And all of that. And the key for you was just taking it one day at a time. So not thinking, I'm going to give up weed, just thinking, for today, I'm not going to smoke any weed. Yeah. And then one day at a time, a week turns into a month turns into a year, etc., etc.
Yeah, and as you've done more, I don't know if you found this, but as you get more sobriety, you're like, God, I've done a couple months now. I don't want to do it. You have a desire not to do it. Yeah. And you have little slip-ups. I had little slip-ups, along the way, that happens. But as you do it, you do a month, and you're like, God, I want to keep going now. And then by the time you've done a year, and then 2 years, and I'm on 3 years, you're on.
It'll be
how many years? 13 years.
In December, yeah. Yeah, it's great, isn't it? I think sobriety does give you like a new pair of glasses. You do look at the world differently. Yeah. Everything is different. So aside from that, because 3 years is a long time, that's what you've done in the beginning. I know you've done some work with us, with the CIP project. Yeah. I think you and Kez were the first teenagers we'd ever took through one of our workshops. We were dubious about it at first, and it ended up being one of the most best, powerful experiences having you on there. But for any young men who might be sort of on the cusp of, this self-development journey and not sure where to go, maybe you could share like your experience around that, because I know you had feelings before it, during it, and after it, and maybe you could take us through that, because that's what I think young people need to hear is like, okay, I've made these mistakes, where do I go?
Yeah. Well, I was really lucky to have found the CIP project so young, I was so lucky. And I was anxious to start with because I didn't know what it was going to involve, and it was a load of guys, and I hadn't grown up with a dad or anything, so I was being a bit anxious about that kind of stuff, and I was skeptical. I don't know what this stuff. I've not done this stuff before, and I think the first thing we did is we sat around in a circle with you, and you were just so honest and open about how you're feeling, and I had never seen that in a man before, and it gave me a different perspective on what it means to be a man, but not one that was like a weak, like not one that's like, it gave me a perspective of what it means to be a man, but not in a stupid way, do you know what I mean? Like I actually looked up to it more than I'd looked up to these guys my whole life, more than these older guys,
It was the honesty.
Yeah, and I actually respected it more. It wasn't it wasn't stupid, it wasn't like cringy or anything like that. I respected it more. I actually respected it more than these other guys. Yeah. And I saw confidence though in that. I saw something in that honesty, So we got in, and the first session I was like, I felt at home. And then you started doing some exercises, and it's it's tough. It's tough stuff. But at the end, you did a workshop at the college, didn't you? And at the end of that, we were just filled with joy, just filled with joy. And then we came here, and it was a lot more intimidating, I think, because I was the youngest guy, and it was older, mostly older guy. Well, it was all older guys except Kez, and I was skeptical. But
how was it for you, being the youngest? Because I would say, so you would have been 18 at the time. Yeah. Most of the men, I'd say the average age of that workshop was probably mid to late 30s was the average age, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. How was it for you being the youngest? Did you find it comforting being around like healthy masculinity, or was it a little bit like, God, I'm not used to it?
You know what, to start with, when I first started seeing all these guys, I was thinking, God, I felt a bit nervous. But when we started talking and getting to know each other, I felt so at home among these men. I'd never felt comfortable around men before. I'd never had positive male role models. And so it was so comforting, and all the men were really supportive that me and Kez were on it, because we were so young. And it felt, there's something, you feel like you're getting a head start kind of, and it feels good. Like it's nervous being around older men, but you think, you know what, I'm younger and I'm doing this, and you feel like you're getting a little bit of a head start. And there's something in that, there's something in that.
I totally agree, yeah. I mean, I had that when I attended AA meetings. When I first went to AA, I was 25. Back then, it wasn't cool to go to AA. If you were a 25-year-old in AA, you were a bit of a loser, right? But I had the same experience that you're talking about. I was thinking, while everyone else is in the pub getting wasted now, I'm here. So I'm playing catch up, and I'm going to overtake all these people soon. So it's really interesting, that experience. It's good, isn't it?
It beats what you get out there, it beats the experience of, I'm getting pissed tonight, I'm doing this tonight, and everyone else is, I'm the boss tonight. It beats that, because it's real growth, it's real. You are getting a head start above everyone else.
Yeah, you are, literally. How was it afterwards as well? Because the workshop finished September, we're almost, November now. How was it for you since you've left, and everything sort of settles, doesn't it? And you take away all the stuff you've learned. How has it been since post-workshop for you?
Yeah, it's freeing, because I know what's been holding me back and what's been on my mind. And things don't go away like that. You still need to put in work, and you need to have conversations with people, and you need to reflect. But I know what I need to have conversations about, and I know what I need to reflect on. So it gives you like a roadmap of how to navigate life, I think. And I think, I think that's what any sort of self-improvement or therapy or anything, it doesn't take you through life. It doesn't like pick you up and take you through life. It gives you a roadmap. But you still got to live life. You still got to live life by yourself. You just got a roadmap of how to live life a bit better. You know.
It's a great the way you describe that. That's exactly what it is. What we try and offer, you know, is a framework to live a better life. You know, if you could give a message to people watching this, because you know a lot of the viewers are parents or people who work in the field of social care, and also a lot of young people as well. What would your message be? Because your position in life, Haleem, is a very unique one. You've had a lot of life experience very young, and you're now 3 years sober. And I can only see you're going to do really big things in your life because you got sober so young. But for the young people that are out there still struggling, a bit on the fence on what to do and where to turn, what would your message be?
Firstly, follow this guy on Instagram.
Thank you,
Watch his
mate.
amazing work. Yeah, the message, again, is life is so much better on the other side. And it's all in your control. It's all in your control. Doesn't necessarily mean you have the power to break an addiction. You know, if you try, you fail, you try, you fail. Google Alcoholics Anonymous. Google, you know, there's people out there that want to help you. There's you, for example. There's organisations out there that really, really want to help you. So it's in your power to change. It's in your power to change. And you might not necessarily be able to do it with your own two hands. You might need someone else to hold your hand along the way, and there's plenty of people out there. Plenty of people out there.
So find them, find these people,
Find the people.
and get support.
You just knock on a couple doors.
Yeah.
Just knock on a couple doors.
Haleem, I'm just so excited to watch your journey, and for me it's been a real privilege meeting you, getting to know you, and yeah, I'm just can't be more grateful that you've come on and shared your story so honestly, because I think it's going to really impact lives and give parents of young people going through this hope that, you know, there is a way out. So if people want to find you on Instagram, it's mainly Instagram you're on, isn't it?
Instagram,
I think you've got a Facebook page as well.
I do have a Facebook, but mainly Instagram for now.
Mainly Instagram.
It's
just
at Haleem Clift. That's HALEEMCLIFT.
great.
And you message me, you know.
Yeah, so if
I'm
anyone
there.
struggles, everyone hearing this is struggling, they're allowed to just
Send me
drop
a
me a
message.
message.
Drop
Okay,
me a
great,
message,
great.
yeah.
Well, listen, mate, keep doing your amazing work, and
Awesome.
I'm right behind you every step of the way. Thanks for
Awesome,
coming on,
man.
Haleem.
Thanks, mate.
Nice
Awesome.
one, mate.
Awesome.
Nice one.